Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill King from Pet Valu. For those of you, and if my name is not familiar to you, if you haven't heard or seen it, there's good reason, and that is I've just joined the business starting in April of this year as Chief Financial Officer. I'd like to welcome you this morning to this webcast, and more importantly, to thank you for your participation and your continued support of Pet Valu. As I said, I joined the business just a couple of months ago. One of the observations I had very early on, obviously, is the incredible growth our company is experiencing. We have plans in the current year to grow our unit base by approximately 10% in terms of new store footprint. Plus, we're seeing consistent growth in our same store transaction counts and sales volumes consistently through the year. And I trust that you are seeing that level of growth as well in our volumes with you. So again, thank you for your support. Obviously, given this sort of growth in the business and mutual growth, our processes must adapt to support the kind of growth we're experiencing. On a number of fronts, this just happens to be one of them. The good news for each of you on the call today is the EDI process we're proposing. It has been tested. We did do a pilot group of vendors over the past year. So we're not presenting anything untested or unproven at this point. We are working in close partnership with Spice Technology Group on this. Spice is a valued partner to the business on a number of merchandise and financial applications. I have, from a personal level, I've known the Spice principals for a number of years, even prior to my joining Pet Valu. And again, I will say what they bring to the table from my perspective is they are not your typical textbook consulting firm. The principals particularly, and the gentleman you'll hear speaking today, have extensive experience, hands-on experience in the trade and with a number of large national and international companies, retail and wholesale companies. So again, thank you for your participation. We're here to support you in this. We believe strongly that moving to EDI, I know a number of you are likely doing it with other clients today. I won't go through the list of efficiencies, but clearly it is intended and expected to drive efficiencies on both sides of the table here. And to the extent that it isn't, we want to hear back from you. With that being said, I will hand the meeting over to Keith Bucher from Spice, and you'll hear from Keith and probably some of the Pet Valu team as we go through the day. Keith?
Thank you, Bill. Once again, I'd like to thank you for joining. My name is Keith Bucher. I will be your facilitator for this session. With me here as well from Pet Valu, we have Rachel Woodworth as well as Corey Adams. And from Spice Technology, we also have Neil Sharma. Just to quickly go over one housekeeping rule. So if you have questions that you would like us to review at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A. If you have questions, please submit them through that chat function in the GoToMeeting. It's at the bottom of the GoToMeeting box. You can just go ahead and type your question there, and we'll review and get through as many of those as we possibly can at the end. On the screen now, you'll see the agenda for the meeting. We introduce the key contacts. We'll go over why EDI. We'll review the EDI project scope, the rollout plan, the transaction details, rollout procedures and timelines, as well as EDI project FAQs that we've gathered, as well as next steps. And then finally, we'll do Q&A at the end. This is the list of the key contacts, myself as the technical contact, the business contact being Rachel Woodworth. And then we have a group of contacts on the Spice Technology side as you started to engage with them as well. We have multiple groups there that will work with you. Again, Spice Technology is excuse me, Pet Valu's EDI IT partner for rolling out EDI with their suppliers. Spice will provide the required support to the supplier to become EDI ready with Pet Valu. Their team will be in touch with you following this webcast. We'll talk about that in the next step. Why EDI? I'm sure many of you will know why EDI is being rolled out, but for those of you that are maybe not so familiar, electronic data interchange is an important tool in automating retail supply chain and interaction between trading partners. Automated business-to-business communication helps its organization jointly bring the right product to the right place at the right time and the right cost to the consumer. This results in improved product freshness, better in-stock levels, and enhances the customer experience within our stores. All members of Pet Valu Trading Partner community will benefit from these improvements. So that's why we're rolling out EDI. This is the EDI project scope. These are the transaction details. There's 4 transactions in total. The 850 purchase order, which Pet Valu will send to its trading partners. The 860 purchase order change, which will also be sent by Pet Valu. The PO acknowledgement, the 855, which is the responsibility of the vendor to send, supplier to send, sorry. And the 810 invoice, which is also the responsibility of the supplier to send. So there's 4 transactions in total. The rollout plan really consists of 3 major components. The first being, the EDI initiative communication. So an EDI letter that was sent actually last year. Suppliers were to have registered and did a web survey, which many of you have. And of course, this communication regarding this webcast that we're actually having today. The next step will be for the suppliers to do testing, EDI document certification, pardon me, as well communication set up, ensure that we've got all the right communications set up and tested, and then of course do parallel testing prior to going full live production. And the last part would be moving into production, running parallel as well, and having ongoing support from Pet Valu. Here are the key compliance dates that we're actually targeting. So we'd like you to start testing on or before July 10th of this year. To go live between July and September is the targeted window that we'd like to work with you on. This particular slide talks about each transaction and just some key points really to call out to you by transactions. For instance, the 850 purchase order, some key rules or comments being called out about that transaction is around ensuring the PO is accurate. The PO that you receive should be accurate. The quantity, the pricing, discounts, and allowance all should be correct on the PO you receive. You'll want to ensure that the shipment dates on the purchase order you can meet, and immediately address any PO errors or differences with your Pet Valu contact, your IA being your key contact with the purchase order. The 855, the purchase order acknowledgement, is required on all POs and changes. The 855 will communicate any changes to quantities and dates. Any vendor substitutions, deletions, or pricing changes must be communicated directly with your Pet Valu contact, the IA. Again, if there's any concern with that purchase order, that inbound PO, it should be addressed immediately. And then that way, corrections can be made and the shipment will flow through the entire process smoothly. The 860 purchase order change, which is communicated from Pet Valu. Any changes to the PO on this side will be communicated via the 860. An 855 is required for an 860 that is sent. And again, any substitutions or deletions, really you have to reach out and confirm with the IA that everyone is on side to those changes prior to submitting any type of 855. And then the 810 invoice should reflect what was shipped. All pricing, discounts, and allowances must match the 850, hence the importance of making sure that that's right from the get-go. And any invoice that has errors will be rejected and will need to be resubmitted. Those are the 4 transactions, and they're all mandatory within this particular program. this is the rollout procedures and the timelines. It sort of talks about, the steps in really getting to where we're at now to where we need to go. The first being, of course, what we talked about earlier around, doing the survey, which we did last year, and many suppliers have completed that and registered for it. There's two streams that we'll be talking to you today about. One will be for EDI ready suppliers or X12 suppliers that are currently EDI capable, as well as Web EDI. We will review that option as well. So if you are an X12 supplier, really these are the sort of 9 steps that would happen in order to get from beginning to finish. So you'll sign up with Spice, sign their testing agreement, you'll do your development. We will do a data synchronization. We'll talk about that further in the program about how that's done. You'll work on the certification via the portal. Once that's complete, you will then ensure your connectivity is set up with Spice. You will then return all of those. You'll also return the trading partner agreement, the EDI trading partner agreement with Pet Valu. You'll hear more about that going forward. And then, running in parallel and going live, we'll do a couple paper and EDI transactions just to ensure everyone is comfortable, and then we'll move to full production and turn off the paper. If you're not EDI capable and you're looking for a means to become, Spice also offers a web solution in their portal. And if you were to go that route, it's a much more simpler, faster route. And that simply requires you to really sign up with Spice, and then you'll return the vendor EDI trading partner agreement to Pet Valu, and then you'll be ready to go live and do the parallel run email and paper. It usually takes about 1 to 2 days to get that all set up and running. Data cleanup, as I mentioned earlier, there will be a process where Pet Valu will ask you to validate their data within their item master. So they'll send you via email an Excel spreadsheet with all the items that you purchase, and they'll ask that you validate that. Any changes required to that data needs to be communicated back to the individual that had sent you the file, and we'll work on this side to correct that and ensure everything is 100% when we go live. And then, of course, the implementation timeline is September is the goal. So obviously, the earlier the better, but September being the latest that we'd like for this particular wave of vendors. And once you are live on the system, you'll of course receive support from Spice Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. And now I'm just going to turn this over to Neil Sharma from Spice Technology, who will walk you through the next few slides, and I'll be back to do the ending portion with you.
Thank you very much, Keith. So just want to take a quick opportunity to thank everybody for being on the call today and supporting Pet Valu in this initiative. As mentioned earlier by Bill King at the onset of the webcast, we are here to really provide assistance to Pet Valu and its trade merchandise community in terms of getting EDI up and ready in the least painful manner, I guess. That would be the right way to say it. That's really our goal here in this particular project. So I want to talk a little bit about how the supplier community is viewed in terms of technical capabilities and how EDI will work. There's really 3 broad categories of suppliers that will likely be engaging with Pet Valu. And a lot of you have been surveyed in the past, so we know for many organizations, we know the technical capabilities based on the survey results. There's really 3 groups of vendors. One is traditional EDI vendors, which are traditional being defined as anybody utilizing NCX12 format, and sending their documents over either secure FTP, AS2, or WAN. The second group would be, essentially non-EDI vendors that don't have any technical capabilities or tool sets, and there is a particular way to deal with them. The Spice Web EDI portal has been designed, tailor-made for Pet Valu's requirements for this initiative, and that is one important channel for that can be utilized for working with Pet Valu. And the third one is really a catch-all. It's special EDI channels. There are a number of suppliers that we see across many implementations, certainly this one too, where you might want to utilize some special channels, such as instead of traditional EDI, utilizing XML or flat files, web services, or other technical means of integrating. And we will certainly support those. We just simply call them special EDI channels, and they are taken on as a statement of work initiative, and there is additional cost associated with it. So to summarize, there's really two standard channels that are being supported in this initiative. One is the traditional EDI vendor channel, and the other one is the non-EDI channel utilizing a web EDI portal. And the third one is a special EDI channel. Moving on to the next page, the next a few pages, I guess, we'll talk about the tools that are available to the vendor community for each of the channels I just described. So let's just start off with the non-EDI vendors first. Essentially, a non-EDI vendor, as I described, would be somebody who cannot deal with traditional EDI, the X12 format. And for them, there is the Spice Connect Web EDI portal that is available. There is a cost associated with it, which I will cover in the next couple of slides. And you have, if you are willing to use this portal, you will essentially be compliant for Pet Valu within 24 hours. 24 to 48 hours, you'll be up and running with very little investment in EDI. And so this is a popular option for a number of customers that might even have traditional EDI, but might take a longer time to develop, do internal EDI development, because that can take time, as we know, based on IT resources and availability. As I said, this is purpose-built for Pet Valu. So what that means is a lot of the business rules for replenishment and procurement have been built into the application, very tightly configured, and it really ensures smoother data integrity back and forth between Pet Valu and the supplier, and really takes some of the heavy lifting away from the supplier to manage the data integrity. And so that's one of the features of the Web EDI tool. If you happen to be a traditional EDI vendor, which many vendors on this call are expected to be, because this wave is really dealing with the traditional EDI vendors, a big chunk of them, then we're happy to support you with X12 format. And the methodology for moving forward is fairly straightforward. You would be identifying yourself as a traditional EDI vendor when our team reaches out to you. Our rollout team will be in touch with you as part of the process. And if you identify yourself as a traditional EDI vendor, you'll have to sign an agreement. It's a certification and testing agreement. Once you have done that, we will essentially issue you login credentials and a license to access the SPICE compliance testing portal. There's some screenshots that are available, as you can see right there. There's in fact 2 screenshots there. And you will go through self-service compliance testing, and you're likely quite familiar with that process. It's quite standard within the industry, the EDI industry, to go through compliance testing. And so the tool will take you through step by step in terms of certifying your documents, and our support team is always available to assist you with all questions that you may have, technical or otherwise, as you progress through the testing. And once you're tested and essentially certified, we will move towards go-live procedures, which Keith has already talked about, and we can touch upon again towards the end of the webcast. You'll also have access to a document tracking tool, which is available to you after you go live. And essentially, it's a quick login tool and track all of your documents and their disposition and status vis-a-vis Pet Valu. So, where is my 855? Has it been sent, received? My 810, what is its status? It's a quick way to find out what's going on with the document tracking tool. It's actually the full-blown Web EDI tool, so you'll be able to view document details and do a lot more with it as well. So this tool is available to the vendors. Talking about costs, yes, there are costs involved in this initiative. They are minor, but there are some costs for all categories of vendors. So if you are a traditional EDI vendor, the one that I just described, who will be going through self-service EDI certification testing, there is a one-time fee of $625. And this will cover the 4 documents I just described, the 850, 855, 860, and 810. and you essentially will have unlimited access to our testing environment. So we don't shut it down in terms of timeline driven or number of tests or anything of that sort. You have full access to the tool. You can go through testing at your leisure. I say that, but I say that with some care in here. There is a timeline that Pet Valu has put down by which they would like you to be live. But within that window, you can test as often as you wish. And really, you can reach out to support from our support team and engage in live support as required. And so those are the fees associated with that. For the second group of vendors, which is Spice Web EDI, which means essentially any non-EDI vendor that chooses to go with Spice Web EDI for faster compliance or for a variety of other reasons, there is a fee associated with that. There's a $200 one-time fee, and that's just, it is, as it says, it is one time, and thereafter you're just paying $50 a month for 100 documents to exchange information back and forth. We think that that price point covers most suppliers in terms of their expected transaction volumes that are going through the Web EDI. If you are a high volume supplier that might be using the Web EDI toolset, we'll certainly talk to you about some volume discounts, and that's certainly a possibility. In terms of special channels, that is XML, flat files, web services, and anything else, other APIs, we will support them. We will write out, at your request, we will write up a statement of work, and the pricing associated with that will be based on the effort required to undertake that.
Very good. Thanks, Neil. I appreciate that. So we're moving on to the next slide, which is the EDI FAQs. This is a couple of pages of some FAQs that we'd like to share with everyone. The first is EDI compliance mandatory, and is there a non-compliance fee? Do you have any other non-compliance charges? EDI is mandatory going forward with Pet Valu. At this time, there is no compliance program that has been introduced. The expectation is that partners will come on side and reap the benefits of EDI that is offered. Will our vendor agreements be modified? How will business operations be impacted by EDI, both PV and vendor? Your vendor agreement will remain the same. An additional EDI trading partner agreement needs to be signed by Pet Valu and yourself to ensure both parties agree to exchange documents electronically. You'll hear further about that trading partner agreement prior to being onboarded into production. When do I need to be compliant? We'd like you to commence testing no later than July 10th and go live by September 2015 at the latest. If I'm a traditional EDI, can I connect with Pet Valu directly? No, you cannot connect to Pet Valu directly, as we are integrated with Spice Technology Group, and you must connect through Spice in order to work with Pet Valu. I use a third-party EDI provider. Can I continue to use this provider for EDI with Pet Valu? Yes, you'll be categorized as an EDI-ready vendor, and you'll have to go through the EDI testing and compliance certification process. It is your responsibility to work with your third-party provider to get set up properly for the requirements in a timely manner. Neither Pet Valu nor Spice will be responsible for following up with your third-party directly. When will I get all the documentation required for the EDI rollout? The EDI mapping specifications are available today from Spice. Once you've registered, an EDI package will be emailed to you with the access to the portal, as well as all the EDI documentations, as well as an onboarding document will be shared with you at that time. Do I have to use Spice Web EDI? All suppliers must test and validate with Spice. Those who are not immediately EDI capable can discuss interim options with Spice about becoming compliant using their web portal service. Can Pet Valu pull my item data from a catalog hosting service provider? At this time, a catalog solution is not being utilized. In the interim, an Excel spreadsheet will be used to synchronize data between Pet Valu and your system. I'd mentioned that earlier in an earlier slide. It is important to ensure that we do that data cleansing before moving into production. So here's the next steps. First, Spice will send an email within 24 to 48 hours after the webcast, inviting you to connect so that they can give you further details around the program, understand your different positions, etc. They'll work with you to take you to the next step. They'll review the process and the cost with you. they'll also give you contacts, who are the appropriate contacts to deal with as you move forward through the program. And upon the return contract, access will be provided to you to the SPICE portal, whether it be for compliance testing or if you're using the web service, that will be granted to you within 24 to 48 hours after signing. And then the next step is to begin the testing. So if you're X12, you'll begin your compliancy testing using the portal. Once it's completed, then Pet Valu will reach out to you and coordinate with you a production date that's mutually agreed. And that is our presentation for this morning. As we mentioned, we would definitely go through some Q&A and answer any questions that might have been posted up by you. So I'm just going to retrieve those now, and we'll begin to review. Okay, so the first question that we have here is, can you handle 997 instead of an 855? So a 997 will be a standard EDI transaction, and FA will be required for all transactions. The 855 is more of a detailed purchase order acknowledgement, which really takes it down to the PO, to the item, to the date level, which really is it's a key component in this program in order to get an 855 back.
Just if I may add to that, so the 997 and 855, for anybody that may not be familiar, are two completely different types of transaction sets. So the 997 in the EDI world is mandatory, it is required in order as an electronic receipt. And the 855 is a business document, and it is also required. So one does not preclude the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So the next question again is regarding the 855. We utilize a substitution plan to maximize freight. How do 855 work in this late in the order process? So I'll answer that question. So you, in this particular case, sounds like you might have shipped some items. Sorry, we maximize a substitution plan. So again, if you are substituting anything off of that purchase order, it will continue to be communicated as it is today. You'll have to have that conversation with your IA to ensure that everyone's aligned with substituting that product prior to shipping. If it's agreed upon that a substitute is made, a change will be made to the purchase order, and it will actually go via a purchase order change. There shouldn't be an expectation for you to send that substitute on an 855.
So is there a way just to summarize that, to say that the 855 must represent the final 855 must represent the final PO, no matter what is done, right? The simple answer is just simply that.
So the next question was, can you receive a copy of this presentation? Absolutely, you can. You can do that you actually do that by request, by sending an email to EDI at.
The presentation actually will be sent out with the email from SPICE.
Sorry, my apologies. Yes, my apologies. We'll actually include that as part of the package that is going to go out with SPICE. We'll ask them to include the presentation, so everyone will actually receive a copy of that. No need to request. Is there a cost to test and certify? We did talk a little bit about that on one of the slides. There is a cost to do the certification testing for X12. It's a one-time fee of $625 to do the testing. Here's a good question. Can we exchange the 855 via Web EDI and exchange the other transactions via EDI? The answer to that question is yes. SPICE will definitely work with you. If you're not able to do the 855 as an example, or say the 860 as another purchase order, you can certainly talk to your Spice contact, and they will work with you to set up a process where you can access the web for any missing transaction that you might not be able to support.
So if I may just add to that, the transactions that often come up as technical hurdles that have to be overcome are 855 and 860. So for that, for the attendee who talked about 855, the short answer is yes. You can use the web portal to go back into PO acknowledgement. For the PO change, you can review the changes online. We can also send an email that summarizes what the PO change might look like for you. So there's a few different ways to do that in a fully integrated environment with traditional EDI. So if you have those challenges, please talk to us about it. There are certainly some costs associated with it, as we discussed, but technically absolutely possible and fairly painless to implement.
Great, thanks, Neil. The next question, is there a cost to use the Spice Web EDI solution? And the answer to that is yes, there is cost associated. Very minimal cost, $200 setup and $50 per month, so it's fairly minimal fees.
And then it's Rachel, just moving on. Any plans to move to ASN? At this point, we're just looking at the 4 documents, and we will review in the future whether we move to ASN, but it's not currently in scope.
Thank you, Rachel. So the next question is, when will 820s be in scope?
So we can just chat about that through internal discussions. The question came up about an ASN and 820. The 820 being, I think it's the remittance advice. So we are doing 810s right now. Remittance advice, advance ship notices, and there's a set of other transaction sets that are on the roadmap for the future. When will they be implemented? The timeline is not yet certain, but there has been a lot of discussions about implementing some of these transaction sets in the near future. So I think we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Thanks, Neil. The next question was, what van service will be used from your end?
So we use HP Elite. That's our van service provider.
That seems, looks like we might have come to the end of the FAQs.
This gives everybody another 2 minutes for any other. They won't be going on time, but we all have to go. So we'll wait for another couple of minutes if there are any other questions. Otherwise, we can wrap up.
So just to reconfirm with everybody as well, so the next step will be you will receive communication from Spice. They will be reaching out to you within the next 24 to 48 hours to set up a sort of one-on-one discussion with you about the program and what's required, and work with you to onboard you as best as they can based on your requirements.
Contact EDI.
Yep. So if you have any questions, of course, you can send. If you have questions directed for Pet Valu directly, you can certainly send those to. They have a group mailbox, EDI@petvalu.com. Any questions you send there, you'll get a reply back as well within a 24 to 48 hour period as well.
So all of the key contacts are on page number, I believe, 2 of this slide deck, or excuse me, page 3. And so when you get the slide copy, you'll have all the key contacts there as well.
And so just to Joan's question, if you don't, the Spice email will go out to the primary contacts that were initially sent the invite. If you were forwarded that message by someone in your company, again, as Keith mentioned, you can send an email to edi@petvalu.com, and we will then forward on to you.
And we put all the key contacts back up on the screen, so you should be able to see them now.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for joining once again, and you will hear more about this initiative, and we appreciate everyone joining us today. Have a good day.